Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Supply with provisions. A stipulated condition. He accepted subject to one provision. The cognitive process of thinking about what you will do in the event of something happening. The activity of supplying or providing something. A store or supply of something, especially of food or clothing or arms. Supply with provisions. A stipulated condition. The cognitive process of thinking about what you will do in the event of something happening. His planning for retirement was hindered by several uncertainties. An act of formulating a program for a definite course of action. The planning was more fun than the trip itself. The act or process of drawing up plans or layouts for some project or enterprise. The cognitive process of thinking about what you will do in the event of something happening. The act of preparing something, as food, by the application of heat. He left the preparation of meals to his wife. A substance prepared according to a formula. The physician prescribed a commercial preparation of the medicine. Activity leading to skilled behavior. The activity of putting or setting in order in advance of some act or purpose. Preparations for the ceremony had begun. The state of having been made ready or prepared for use or action, especially military action. Their preparation was more than adequate. Preparatory school work done outside school, especially at home. Music. A note that produces a dissonant chord is first heard in a consonant chord. The resolution of one dissonance is often the preparation for another dissonance. Circulate or distribute or equip with. Supply blankets for the beds. Give something useful or necessary to. State or say further. Give what is desired or needed, especially support, food or sustenance. The activity of supplying or providing something. An amount of something available for use. Offering goods and services for sale. The activity of supplying or providing something. Give something useful or necessary to. We provided the room with an electrical heater. Supply means of subsistence. Earn a living. He provides for his large family by working 3 jobs. Mount or put up. Give what is desired or needed, especially support, food or sustenance. The hostess provided lunch for all the guests. Make a possibility or provide opportunity for, permit to be attainable or cause to remain. This procedure provides for lots of leeway. Determine what is to happen in certain contingencies, especially by including a proviso condition or stipulation. The will provides that each child should receive half of the money. Take measures in preparation for. Provide for the proper care of the passengers on the cruise ship. Give something useful or necessary to. Melt, fat or lard, in order to separate out impurities. Render fat in a casserole. Give an interpretation or rendition of. The pianist rendered the Beethoven sonata beautifully. Bestow. Render thanks. To surrender someone or something to another. Render up the prisoners. Give or supply. The estate renders some revenue for the family. Pass down. Render a verdict. Show in, or as in, a picture. The face of the child is rendered with much tenderness in this painting. Restate. Words, from one language into another language. She rendered the French poem into English. Give back. Render money. Make over as a return. They had to render the estate. A substance similar to stucco but exclusively applied to masonry walls. Cause to become. The shot rendered her immobile. Coat with plastic or cement. Render the brick walls in the den. Give something useful or necessary to. Provide or equip with furniture. We furnished the house in the Biedermeier style. Law. An agreement or concession made by parties in a judicial proceeding, or by their attorneys, relating to the business before the court. Must be in writing unless they are part of the court record. A stipulation of fact was made in order to avoid delay. An assumption on which rests the validity or effect of something else. A restriction that is insisted upon as a condition for an agreement. An assumption that is taken for granted. An assumption on which rests the validity or effect of something else. A condition that is a prerequisite. Put into the required condition beforehand. The procedure that is varied in order to estimate a variable's effect by comparison with a control condition. Develop a child's or animal's behavior by instruction and practice, especially to teach self-control. Specify as a condition or requirement in a contract or agreement. Make an express demand or provision in an agreement. The state of good health, especially in the phrases in condition, or in shape, or out of condition, or out of shape. A state at a particular time. A condition, or state, of disrepair. Usually plural, a statement of what is required as part of an agreement. The contract set out the conditions of the lease. An assumption on which rests the validity or effect of something else. Information that should be kept in mind when making a decision. A mode of being or form of existence of a person or thing. The human condition. An illness, disease, or other medical problem. A heart condition. Apply conditioner to in order to make smooth and shiny. I condition my hair after washing it. Establish a conditioned response. Put into a better state. He conditions old cars. A personal belief or judgment that is not founded on proof or certainty. What are your thoughts on Haiti? The content of cognition, the main thing you are thinking about. The thought never entered my mind. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. She paused for thought. The organized beliefs of a period or group or individual. 19th century thought. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. Endowed with the capacity to reason. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. Thinking always made him frown. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. An organic process that takes place in the body. Respiratory activity. The state of being active. His sphere of activity. The trait of being active, moving or acting rapidly and energetically. The level of activity declines with age. A process existing in or produced by nature, rather than by the intent of human beings. Volcanic activity. Any specific behavior. They avoided all recreational activity. Chemistry, the capacity of a substance to take part in a chemical reaction. Catalytic activity. A reserve of money set aside for some purpose. A financial institution that sells shares to individuals and invests in securities issued by other companies. A supply of something available for future use. Accumulate a fund for the discharge of a recurrent liability. Fund a medical care plan. Convert short-term floating debt into long-term debt that bears fixed interest and is represented by bonds. Furnish money for. The government funds basic research in many areas. Invest money in government securities. Place or store up in a fund for accumulation. Provide a fund for the redemption of principal or payment of interest. The handle of a handgun or the butt end of a rifle or shotgun are part of the support of a machine gun or artillery gun. The rifle had been fitted with a special stock. The merchandise that a shop has on hand. Persistent thickened stem of herbaceous perennial plant. Any of several Old World plants cultivated for their brightly colored flowers. Repeated too often. Overfamiliar through overuse. A stalk answer. Put forth and grow sprouts or shoots. The descendants of one individual. Any of various ornamental flowering plants of the genus Malcolmia. A special variety of domesticated animals within a species. Have on hand. A supply of something available for future use. Any animals kept for use or profit. A certificate documenting the shareholder's ownership in the corporation. The value of his stocks doubled during the past year. Amass so as to keep for future use or sale or for a particular occasion or use. Let's stock coffee as long as prices are low. Regularly and widely used or sold. A stock item. Liquid in which meat and vegetables are simmered, used as a basis for e.g. soups or sauces. She made gravy with a base of beef stock. An ornamental white cravat. A plant or stem onto which a graft is made, especially a plant grown specifically to provide the root part of grafted plants. Equip with a stock. Stock a rifle. Lumber used in the construction of something. They will cut round stock to 1-inch diameter. Provide or furnish with a stock of something. Stock the larder with meat. Routine. A stock answer. Supply with fish. Stock a lake. Supply with livestock. Stock a farm. The capital raised by a corporation through the issue of shares entitling holders to an ownership interest, equity. He owns a controlling share of the company's stock. The handle end of some implements or tools. He grabbed the cue by the stalk. The reputation and popularity a person has. His stock was so high he could have been elected mayor. An electronic memory device. A depository for goods. Storehouses were built close to the docks. A mercantile establishment for the retail sale of goods or services. Keep or lay aside for future use. Store grain for the winter. A supply of something available for future use. He brought back a large store of Cuban cigars. Find a place for and put away for storage. I couldn't store all the books in the attic, so I sold some. Planning or plotting in advance of acting. Law. Thought and intention to commit a crime well in advance of the crime. Goes to show criminal intent. Law. Criminal intent. The thoughts and intentions behind a wrongful act, including knowledge that the act is illegal, often at issue in murder trials. Law. Criminal intent. The thoughts and intentions behind a wrongful act, including knowledge that the act is illegal, often at issue in murder trials. The statement, oral or written, of an exchange of promises. They had an agreement that they would not interfere in each other's business. Compatibility of observations. There was no agreement between theory and measurement. The thing arranged or agreed to. Harmony of people's opinions or actions or characters. The two parties were in agreement. The determination of grammatical inflection on the basis of word relations. The verbal act of agreeing. The procedure of calculating, determining something by mathematical or logical methods. Planning something carefully and intentionally. Problem solving that involves numbers or quantities. The act of arranging and adapting a piece of music. The spatial property of the way in which something is placed. The arrangement of the furniture. The thing arranged or agreed to. They made arrangements to meet in Chicago. A piece of music that has been adapted for performance by a particular set of voices or instruments. An organized structure for arranging or classifying. He changed the arrangement of the topics. An orderly grouping, of things or persons, considered as a unit, the result of arranging. A flower arrangement. Judiciousness in avoiding harm or danger. Planning or plotting in advance of acting. Planning something carefully and intentionally. It was the deliberation of his act that was insulting. Careful consideration. A little deliberation would have deterred them. A rate demonstrating an absence of haste or hurry. The trait of thoughtfulness in action or decision. He was a man of judicial deliberation. Usually plural, discussion of all sides of a question. The deliberations of the jury.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.